Yo, YouTubers, this is a political broadcast on behalf of the roller coaster ride party. Before I start with my speech, I'm going to do quite a concise speech today. I'm just on my job search at the moment. I've had a bit of a... I was on the sick for a while, you know. I took a break off the dole and decided to go on the sick for I'm not sure how long, it was nearly a year or about 8, 9 months, I'm not sure. But I had one of those Atos interviews and they said I wasn't off my head or whatever, you know, so I should be signing on and all that. So I went back onto the dole, quite happy about it, like, but today I had my first interview with an advisor. And I was looking forward to speaking to her and getting some, you know, some positive, you know, getting positive about going to work or whatever, but straight away I got off on a bad note where she said, like, she's considering putting me on a work placement, and that really fucking made me blood boil for a second and start thinking bad things about, you know, punching her fucking head or something, I don't know. You know, because like when they talk about making you do work placements where you're working for nothing in a shop, a charity shop or that kind of thing, like it's just slave labour and over my dead body, you know what I mean? But anyway, I'm just on my website at the moment. I just thought I'd show people before I get on with my speech. My speech is nothing to do with the dole. It's just a little complaint I've got today because I went to the dole and already they're talking about making me do voluntary work. And it really does fucking piss me off, just the thought of it, like, that anyone is going to make me work just for me dole. I'll fucking burn the places down one day, I'm telling you. That's what I'll do if I have to, like. Well, anyway, I'm on my fucking website, my job centre website. I was just wondering, anyone out there, have you ever noticed this, like, you know, man, you know, yeah, I don't know, see, in foreign countries, in America or whatever, they won't have seen, you know, our British version of this amazing website that you can apply for jobs for, and you get loads of jobs, it's amazing. Well, like, there's me, look, say, hello Bruce. So, direct gov, right? And there you can see the layout, you know, it's like, I've got it on extra large writing. You see, you can select the writing so, you know, you fit everything in, like, right. I'll shrink it down a bit so you can. This speech isn't anything to do with it. Well, I suppose it is because it's about computers, my speech today. But you see where it's all shrunk down and, you know, you got your job searches and all. Like, I'll put it back on the large writing, right. Well, that's to prove I am actually on social security, in case anyone thinks I'm some kind of a closet millionaire or something like. But let's just show you this. Right? Has anyone ever noticed this? You go to scroll right down to the bottom of the page, right? Right down to the bottom, right down there, right down to the very end, and look what you get here. It says government.uk, standards of behaviour, cookies, privacy, blah blah blah. Now look what that says there. Copyright. Crown. Copyright. And then it's there, look. Copyright 2013, Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, all rights reserved. 2014, there's the fucking... I don't know what that's supposed to mean now, like the... But what about that though, eh? Crown copyright. Right, now... Let's get back on screen. Now the thing is, right, the issue with that, right, is like, while we're signing on, right, if we're unfortunate enough, hold on, just make yourself look cool. While we're signing on the dole, social security, right, to say we're looking for work. What's really pissing me off, right, guys, is there's this master plan that is making sure that, like, I've got a PC, I use my PC for mainly for art, for pictures, photography, and my music, right? Which I don't sell or do nothing like that. I don't make any money doing that, right? I've said that a million times on YouTube, right? But the point is, the way they're working it, right, is they're making it so you have to be online one way or another. It's getting compulsory, isn't it? The other thing is they won't pay it over the counter or with a gyro in the post or nothing like that. They're making it so you've got to have a bank account, right? So obviously all the stuff that Aaron Russo was talking about, where it's like it's working its way down to the chip system. So they say it gets to a point, say I refuse to do my job search or whatever, and say in 2 or 3 years time, if it's got really bad, and all the money's in a bank, which is compulsory, remember, they've got to have a bank account to pay you. They won't pay you over the counter, they won't give you cash over the counter or give you a coupon or whatever that you like a gyro like we used to get. So it's compulsory to be using computers to look for your work, right? Obviously they expect everyone to have an iPhone, which is another angle, because an iPhone is a computer, isn't it, right? And so what choice have we got? Say I'm on social security and I say, I don't want to use a computer, I don't like computers, I can't stand the things, like I can't stand iPhones as well, I don't want to use a mobile phone. You know, but you've got to have your bank accounts, you've got to have a computer to do your job search. If I don't stop doing this job search and I say, look, I'm not using that. It's called universal job match, for fuck's sake, right? Universal means worldwide, doesn't it? Or even universal as in outer space. So they're making it like a national or a universal standard. So Aaron Russo was on the right level, wasn't he, when he was saying they're going to get everyone chipped and all that stuff. And if you don't comply or you don't do what they tell you, they go, well, we'll switch off his credit then. We'll switch off his little credit thing, you know, his chip thing, like. So it's looking that way, isn't it, guys, right? Now, this speech is basically about, like, how, it's called How Humanity Shrinks into Silicon. Right, you get it? Silicon, right, Silicon Valley, silicon chips, iPhones, computers, laptops, tablets, etc. Not the tablets we eat when we're committing suicide. You know, tablets you got out with your finger on the screen, like everyone's like that on the screen. I use a video camera, by the way, when I make these films. Like, it's not a phone on. But anyway, I thought, like, now I've wrote a list down of things, right, and this all ties in. I'm going to try and, like, explain how the fuck the Roman Empire or the Babylonians, as we're getting affectionately used to calling them on YouTube and those kinds of alternative media. We say Babylonians now, right? Now, if you don't believe that it's anything to do with the Babylonians, right, then go and take a look by the River Thames at the fucking big. Pardon me French, guys, because I'm a bit pissed off, you know what I mean? So if I do swear, don't worry about it. It's just language, it's just words, you know what I mean? It's just, fuck is just a 4-letter word. And I'm not going on kids' television or anything like that, am I? You know what I mean? Or on the television or the radio, like, so fucking stupid twats, I'll fucking swear as much as it wants, right? Well, if you want proof that, like, this is a Babylonian issue, right, the whole matter, what I'm talking about, I'm going to try and wing it all right down. This is going to be about 3 hours long, this speech, man. But I thought it was time to have a proper speech, because I might be stopping the YouTube thing soon, you know what I mean? Cutting my computer off and that. Well, if you just go and have a look at the Cleopatra's Needle by the River Thames, right? Or there was a video I had on my old channel about the obelisk not far from me in Birkenhead Park in the Wirral, Birkenhead Park in England, on Merseyside, and there was a fucking stupid big, well, it's still there, it's in Birkenhead Park, big fucking stupid obelisk. which is some kind of memorial to some fucking magistrate in Birkenhead or something years ago, but it doesn't serve any purpose. It's not a grave. It's an obelisk in Birkenhead Park, and it looks just like an Egyptian obelisk with a fucking stupid pyramid on top and all the rest of it, right? So if anyone's got any doubts that we're like being paranoid when we say, well, this is a Babylonian thing, man, this is the Romans or Cleopatra and Julius Caesar kind of fucking Cleopatra and Julius Caesar union kind of bullshit, man, like that kind of fucking shit and all that bullshit, like, you know. They just go around your own town and have a look at the obelisks and stuff, right? Right, so there's where it starts, right? This speech is called How Humanity Shrinks. How they're shrinking us. What they're doing is they're shrinking us. Like from like we used to be like on a sort of great big earth, right? It's like a full-sized earth, and we would all be like, I'm 5'8.5" in height, right? But that's the reality, right? But in actuality, right, if we're using all this technology like Crown copyright and making me do fucking job search looking at my monitor, and if I was using a phone it'd be even worse, right? They take our eye and they shrink us, so instead of being like 5'9.5" or 5'9" or whatever I'm supposed to be on a full-size earth, I'm about the size of an atom in a silicon chip. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, and everyone else who I know, I bump into people now, like my brother is a victim of the dole and saying, you got to do job search. So I speak to my brother quite regularly, right? So I can't sort of go, unless I really cut off and say, well, I'm not heading into the hills with my camping equipment, I'm never coming back, and I don't talk to another soul. That's the only way I'm going to avoid it, because I've got mates who knock at mine and come to see me, and they get a fucking stupid iPhone out the pockets and start doing that with the fingertips, like, and I'll be like sitting there like in silence waiting for them to talk. Well, you know, certain person who does knock regular, like, who's like one of my best friends kind of thing, but I'll be like that for like 3 hours, like doing this thing with his fingertips, and I'll be like sitting there thinking, aren't you going to talk, aren't you going to speak or nothing, like? So obviously he's in there, like, he's like the size of an atom, isn't he? Because obviously he's sitting in the same room as me, and I'm like, well, I have to go on Job Centre website, right? To prove there's like Babylon or like the Golden Bull or the Tower of Babel and all that kind of stuff, right? That it is a biblical matter. Where, like, I've got a load of things written down so I can't forget what the theme. I'm hoping to make this an interesting speech, but I'm not going to put any pictures in or nothing. Like, you have to look at this ugly fucking smelly tramp throughout the video, apart from a couple of interesting shots. I'm going to show you where I'm going to show you my ass. Nah, I'm only joking. Just don't pull me keks down. No, I'm actually joking there. I've got some silicon chips to show you guys, right? To sort of I'm kind of explaining things to people, what I'm getting at with this shrinking us, right? And it all starts with the obelisks. What the Babylonians did, the Roman emperors, the slave drivers, you know, the days of Spartacus and all that stuff, like, they sort of thought, right, we need to command this whole earth. Obviously they travelled in space. Obviously they came from Mars or the moon or something. Because they must have a geographical viewpoint of the planet to know that it was a ball and all the rest of it, and they had to circumnavigate it, like. You know, all the scams in history where they say they thought the earth was flat. That's a bum steer, that's a load of bullshit. So you don't think that the ancients could travel in space and that, like. And the great flood of Noah, you know, Noah's day, cut a load of things off, a load of technology and all kinds of stuff that really was, you know, the Egyptians and the Mayans and all them lot. The ones that came down in spaceships and visited the tribes and the primitive Indians or whatever, fooled them into thinking we're gods. You know, because you think about it, if some guy got out of a spaceship and you were an Indian dude with a drum singing in the woods in Arizona or something, or in a desert or something, and some like Predator kind of character or whatever, or Arnie Schwarzenegger sort of sci-fi thing got out of a spaceship, you'd think it was God, wouldn't you? You'd go like, oh, all hail, this God came out of the sky, and you know, and that's where bullshit is that's what the Nephilim did to people. They made them think they were gods and that, like, by, you know, just by having advanced technology, nothing more, nothing less. You know what I mean? It's like me if I go into the outback in Australia like 50 or 100 years ago or something, carrying a computer. They think I'm some kind of magician. Well, it's not so, is it? It's just technology, right? And what happens is these Babylonians, these Romans, Egyptians, or whatever you want to call them, because to me, Babylon is a union of synagogues of Satan type Jews, Roma, you know, the Romans, and Egypt, and obviously there's a Greek, you know, a Greek vein in there, like, but the Romans overstepped Greece, didn't they? So they represent, by the time it's becoming a triad of cultures, which is Babylon. You know, and then you've got all the other things like Mesopotamia and things like that, Mesopotamia and stuff. But anyway, what they decided to do to try and, like, let's shrink everyone. Because that's the easiest way to rule people, isn't it? It's like, you know, it would be easier to look after 1,000 ants than it would be to look after 1,000 full-size people, wouldn't it? Right. So they had this master plan of, like, shrinking people, like. And what they do is they use the obelisks to do it. You know, and it's called, it's magic geometry or stone masonry or Freemasonry, where they use chants and songs, or, you know, like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen a real Masonic lodge, any footage or sneaked out, you know, footage, but they all tend to chant, guys. This is like, even in today's Masonic lodges, they all sort of go, there'll be like all these like 50-odd-year-olds all going, a bit like using a didgeridoo or whatever, you know what I mean, but there's no, you know, didgeridoo, there's no corruption going on. But with these Masonic Babylonian guys, it was obviously all the evidence is there to prove that the Egyptian influence, right? They chant or they use certain musical notes. I don't want to go into that right now. The point I'm trying to, like, describe how they shrink us, how they shrunk us to, like, the size of, like, we're actually just little tiny. We can't escape it, guys, but you've got to switch off the technology. You've got to go walking around in the trees and that kind of thing to kind of start regaining that size and scale. Because the more you look at concrete walls, and especially a computer screen, right, especially a computer screen, and I look at my screen quite a lot when I'm bored. I put my computer on or watch YouTube or use me Steinberg on the screen, you know what I mean, me monitor. But if you've got that fucking iPhone and you're going to be getting that out of your pocket when you're actually out in the street, you're sitting at a bus stop or a train station, because I don't care what anyone says, I've looked around at everyone and they're all like that. Like absolutely fucking zombie by the things. I know how many people are watching this video on an iPhone. Get the fucking thing switched off right now and watch this on a fucking screen or something, like on a telly or something. Like, get rid of your fucking iPhones, guys, or you're going to become slaves. I tell you straight. Right. Well, anyway, they shrank us down into the obelisks first. Right. You do know that, guys, don't you? Magic geometry or whatever. There's secrets, obviously. So I can't say everything, can I? I don't want to go into, like, the complications of magic geometry and that, right? And then there's this thing about this, the cube, you know, the structure of a cube, right? And a lot of people would think, well, you don't really see many cubes. Well, straight away you see cubes in, like an obelisk is usually square, isn't it? And pyramidal at the top. So we've got the four corners kind of thing. You know what they say, four corners of the world. Not God's creation, not God's earth, whatever. The world, right? Four corners of the world. There's this thing about four corners. A lot of people think, well, okay, where's the cubes? Where do you see cubes? And straight away, right, the stones that the Freemasons use more than anything, or the Egyptians, right, the Babylonians, is granite. Right, you know, the stone granite, it's grey. They can use pink granite as well, can't they? It's pink granite. But every road, like if you think that this is like I'm inventing this, what did the Romans do first when they went out? Say they started off in Rome. I think they came from Mars personally. They went to Italy because of the weather and, you know, they could grow wine. They knew where all the good weather was, didn't they? Right. So they went to Italy first, right? Capitalised on the Italian countryside, vineyards, wine, Obviously, probably growing weed and all the rest of it. Because of the weather conditions, you know, they had the weather conditions and they could sunbathe and, you know, have orgies outdoor and all that, like. And what the first thing they start doing is making aqueducts, don't they? So they've got this constant water supply, you know, baths and tiles, you know, little blocks of fucking tiles on the walls and that, so it looks nice and that, like. Baths, jacuzzis, toilets, obviously, aqueducts, water being carried so they can just switch a tap on and they can just have a wash or a shower, you know, like, you know, most of us wouldn't give a shit, would we? Just stand out in the rain or skinny dip or something to get a wash or something, like. Well, this is what the Romans, they've been force fed with bathrooms and stuff, you know what I mean? Over the years, bathrooms straight away, you know, it was like a big fucking white big chunk of cocaine, a toilet to me, like. It's sort of like, so was a bathtub, like. It's like a big if you start seeing the connections between these things, these structures, and the drugs world, it starts making sense, you know what I mean? What they're doing, what they're trying to do when they shrinky dink us, like, into shrinky dinks, like. Right. So they build aqueducts, so we've got all that water kind of thing going on. And then the other thing is roads, right? Now, when the Romans first started building roads, right, what would they do? They level the ground. It started off just like dirt tracks, early days, like. They level the ground, and as long as the cart wheels or the chariot wheels could wheel along smoothly, that was good enough for them, right? Now that should have been good enough to have like a smooth dirt track that a chariot could ride on. But what do they do after that? They start putting cobbles down, don't they? They make sure that you know, the substance, granite. You know, they say all roads lead to Rome. If you go to Rome first and start like following the roads outwards to the rest of the world, Constantinople or wherever, like, all the fucking bullshit associated with today's traffic, the traffic of today is still doing the same thing, right? And what they do is they put cobbles down, these cobbles into the ground. It's the Romans started that before anyone else, you know what I mean? It's usually dirt tracks, like I said, right? So they put these cobbles down in the road, and that's like to make sure that the network from Rome that spreads out like a spider's web, right, is kind of, there's granite stones, isn't it, underfoot? If you're walking along a Roman road or you're riding a horse along a Roman road, the hooves of the horse or your feet or the wheels of your chariot have got to make contact with that cobble, which is the stuff they build the obelisks out of. So there's an electrical connection, do you understand? Like a spark of electricity between the wheels of your chariot or your sandals and the cobble, right? And then obviously they sussed out that the cobble's being round because they're like big, we call them duck stones, they're like pebbles, aren't they? Like huge pebbles they put into the ground. And if you find any old Roman roads that are still as they used to be, they're like big, rough, like, you know, because the cobbles look like eggs in the ground, don't they, you know what I mean? But and then they fill the gaps with cement or whatever, like. And obviously they thought, like, they had to invent suspension then for the chariots and all that kind of stuff. So he's like, oh, I don't want to be like disturbed while my chariot's moving along the ground, like, I want to have a smooth ride, don't I? You know? Right, so they started then, and this goes up right up until, like, say the 60s, the 70s, in this fucking country, guys, right? They realised that if they shape the fucking cobble, right, into a cube, instead of just putting it in the ground like this big duck egg thing, this ostrich egg shaped thing, like, if they go, oh, take the corners off, you know, take the rounded edges off and make it like a cube. And this is one cobble, not the fucking whole road, is it? It's like one cobble, guys. Because I remember I had a cobblestone years ago what I took out of a road that was, you know, I took it home and it weighed a bloody ton. It was like, well, it was about that big, right? It was like a cube that big of solid granite, right? Perfectly sort of squared off. You know, that's what they do, you know, it's sure and true, they call it, like the Freemasons. If it's an oblong, an oblong or a cube, right? I'm trying to make this like a thesis that sort of ties everything together, so you know the penny drops and you sort of realise what I'm trying to say. So that you say, what everyone's got to do is stop doing things. You say we've got to drop things like saying, like if you were a junkie and it was killing you, you'd have to stop doing the drugs to stay alive, right? Now this is basically advice. This is like, stop doing this, stop doing that, stop using your fucking iPhones, you knobheads. You know, they have to be that blatant and say, just fucking kick it, knock it on the head, you drug addict. Put that fucking, get rid of that fucking iPhone. But anyway, right, you just imagine in the ground, the Romans have got wise to the fact that, like, hey, if we square these cobblestones off and then join them all together in the road, you know, they're all placed perfectly side by side, the chariots get a bit of a smoother ride because it's all flatter. Still a bit rocky, isn't it? Like, but they can't put granite down in one great big huge piece, can they? It has to be in small pieces, doesn't it? But as it emanates from the centre of Rome in Italy to all the roads emanating out into France, into Europe, across the flipping, you know, Julius Caesar made sure he came to fucking Britain, didn't he? They built Hadrian's Wall in Scotland and all the rest of it, like, put obelisks everywhere, right? Now, nearly every road in Britain now, today, right, today, we don't think of it in our time, because we don't see it, but, like, you look around at the roads in the streets of Britain, you just see tarmac, you know, the smooth, nice, like, fucking tarmac with the little stones in that makes the tyres last longer. And they invented tyres eventually that makes things bouncy and, you know, Satan's air, remember guys, Satan's air in the tyre. Every car is floating on air. Do you not realise that? Like, you know, in every car that goes past is floating on air. Because there's fucking air in the tyres, isn't there? And we all know that Satan dominates the air, right? Because it's a sealed, controlled scientific environment, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's a compound, isn't it? Right, but anyway, they design these flipping cobbles. Then as the years pass by, we've got like tyres and motor cars arriving and suspension and everything. And then they start coming up with like the tarmac. And then there's roads in my town in Birkenhead, right, where the roads have got potholes, you know, where they need repairing, and the tarmac has been come off gradually. And underneath there, guys, the cobbles are still there, right? And I could like put my camera out this window, out my bedroom window, look around Birkenhead. There's, you know, because I'm in a high rise. There's loads of roads going all over the show, straight lines and all that. Like, yeah, every one of them is cobbled underneath the tarmac, right? So do you get me what I'm saying? Like how the shrink factor is like, it's going from like the obelisks in Rome or in front of the Vatican or wherever, like, you know, St. Peter's Square or Egypt or Giza or wherever any fucking obelisks are made of granite. Then you've got that magical geometrical connection to every piece of cobble that emanates outwards into all the cities and towns in Europe, for fuck's sake, including Scotland, Wales, Ireland, England, roads, everywhere. And they put cobbles down first. There's not many roads on this planet that haven't got cobbles underneath them, let's put it that way. Right? So, do you understand the matrix I'm referring to here now? There's like this grey stone everywhere, granite, the stuff that the Egyptians love most. What they carve into shapes or make into statues of fucking Horus or whatever, like, you know. So there's that magical geometry, right? And then, right, they shrunk the world down brilliantly by saying, like, we've got everyone getting into cars and buses and using their engines and petrol and all this kind of stuff, because it's a blackmail petrol. You've got to use it, haven't you? If we have an oil strike or a petrol strike, you just watch the queues outside any garage of the cars, like all stuck on the road, or like waiting in a queue to buy a fucking litre of petrol or whatever, like, or a gallon of petrol. They've got you by the bollocks if you're fucking reliant on a car, for fuck's sake, do you know what I mean? Right, so they've shrunk everyone down there, right? If you can get with me on that one, right? They've shrunk everyone down, right? And then they've had to say like, they're not small enough. They want to be Nephilim, they want to be giants, they want to be up there, like big, lanky, fucking, like 10-foot monsters. And they want us all to be like little tiny ants. So what have they come up with in the last, say, 30, 40 years or so in our generation, like my generation? I was born in 1964. And they come up with the fucking... This is what they come up with. The next stage. Silicon chip, right? Now this is a processor, quite an old one. Quite a dated. This isn't one of your quad core jobs, like this isn't a quad core job, like. But this is a computer chip processor out of a sort of a 90s Windows computer. And as you can see, the company on the fucking. Am I holding that the right way there? Yeah. Intel. Now, just the name Intel should have alarm bells ringing, shouldn't it? Intel Pentium. Right, now you can see around the edges of this, the cover there, I've tried to take it off. I've tried to open it. And have you ever noticed how fucking difficult it is to open these fucking things, man? Like, you can't get to the silicon, the silicon. Because that's the next stage, you see, they shrink us into silicon. Right, and then we've got like, now that's a processor from a PC, right? Now, what's on the other side, right? What's on the other side? Now, have you noticed the way it's designed, right, guys? A lot of people don't really spot these things. There's the corner. Where is it? There's the corner. That it's designed. It's cut off so that you know where it goes in the chipset. You know, have you noticed that? Like, looks I mean, I know most people must know this. Most people must be techie heads by now if they've got a PC or they've used a PC. Well, there's a lot of people out there that don't know these things, if you know what I'm saying. Like older people and that, like, they're not wise to it, right? But Pentium or these companies, they design it, they take the corner off there so that when you put it in the chipset, there's like a little indicator that says you just line up the bit that hasn't got a corner with this area, right? And then what happens is them things, what are they? The little pins that connect it to the circuit board, to the motherboard. Do we call them mother? I won't go there, like, you know what I mean? But you know, they call it a motherboard, right? Like a mothership, yeah? Pure gold on them points. You can see that from here. You can see the gold. Obviously the pins aren't made of gold. It's not necessary. It's just having that contact. Just having that contact of gold. Because it's the golden bull, if you know what I mean. A load of bullshit, a load of golden bull, right? Now, a PC or a computer won't work unless there's a piece of gold in there. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why that is. All I know is I learned that years ago. Someone told me in a superstore, some guy repairing this machine that weighed food, saying, you know, this machine won't work without this little piece of gold in it, like. I was like, wow, this is before these things were released. And the mad thing is you try to take, does anyone out there know how to uncover these chips, man, so you can get to the silicon bit? See, that's like a cover, like a metal thing, and it's like soldered on. I think you see the edges of it, like. And I've tried removing the solder, so because I just want to uncover the chip and look at the processor itself, the silicon part. Because remember, guys, what I said earlier about granite down to cobblestones or blocks or obelisks, down to cobblestones, and he said we've got to get everyone smaller, we've got to get everyone smaller. So they came up with this fucking bullshit, like the computer and all the rest of it, like, and we're all falling for it, including myself. I have to use a computer for my music and stuff like that, but I'm not as committed as most people. Certainly, I don't use an iPhone, right? Right. So they came up with that, right? They came up with that, and that's like quite a powerful machine. That's quite a powerful processor. It needs them fucking gold contacts. Please pardon me swearing in this, guys. If you don't like it, just switch off and don't watch me. But it's kind of like, I can't help it, like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of like trying to let off some steam and just be as honest as I can, yeah. Well, anyway, these points, if you think about it, right, if you think about this as a Masonic temple, right, and obviously it's square. It's square as opposed to oblong, isn't it, right? Because we know that a cobblestone can be a cube, or a pyramid or an obelisk can be cube shaped or square shaped. They don't, Freemasons don't just use oblongs, right? But if you look at this, right, you think like that's the gateway, the bit where the corner's broken off. You got to excuse me thing here, because on my monitor on the camera, everything's upside down. You know, when the monitor towards me so I can see what I'm doing, it's upside down, so it's confusing going up and down. Yeah. Well, anyway, that bit where that is, if you notice the actual layout of the if I can, yeah, you see that there, the way it looks, slightly different than the rest of it. I'll try and go right round it. See how that's like square there? Like a corner. I mean, I don't know, get one of these out of your, you know, take your chip out of your computer and have a look at it and you'll see what I mean. See, that's square. That's square. But in that corner where it's where the flat edge is, right, so if you put it on its if I put it on its front like that, that's like looking at the Hilton, the doorway, or, you know, a hotel. Like, you know, when you get to a hotel like the Hilton or the Ritz, and they always have like a sort of long sheltered part so you don't get wet when you get out of your limousine and you're walking from the car door to the door of the hotel. They always have one of those, like, it's like a fucking umbrella above your head, but it's long, yeah. That's what that is. That's the gateway into the chip. You see, that's it from above. Well, if I go like that, you start to see, if you were microscopic, if you were tiny, right, they're columns, like Egyptian columns, aren't they? All them pins, they just look like pins when you look at it like that. So, but if you're tiny, because that's what we all are in there when we shrink into our little chips, as soon as I switch it on and it's activated and the gold is in communication with the gold in the motherboard and that, like, yeah. They're all columns, aren't they? The columns. Now, I'm sure they could have a different way of designing the chip, but they've made sure that it's got like Egyptian masonry in there, or Babylonian Freemasonry, or stone masonry structures. But it's in metal, isn't it? And silicon and gold. They're gold. Well, you think about that, that's a whole, you know, like that place in Egypt where there's columns everywhere. I'm not sure, Luxor. Is it Luxor where all the columns are, like, you walk around and you just see columns? Well, doesn't that remind you of that? If you know what I'm saying, like. See, and that won't function without the gold on it. That has to have that gold. That's 24 karat gold, that, guys. Not the pins, the paint. It's painted on. They wouldn't be that fucking generous, would they? So we could take the fucking pins off. You got to, like, recycle these things to get the gold off them, like, yeah. So you need to get past gold to get through the gateway, right? And here's another thing I learned about these things, right? We all know that the devil, right? It's called Intel, the company Intel, right? I mean, I'm going into some graphic details here, guys, trying to share my understanding, right? Well, we all know these chips are called Intel. You know, say you were a Yorkshireman, you say, hey, there's trouble at Mill. There's trouble in L. There's trouble in L. In hell, right? Without the H. Intel, right? Now, what you learn about these things, right? I did a computer course a few years back, right? I've done quite a bit of learning, you know, in that sort of area, like, but I'm not an egghead about it, like. And there was an exercise where one of these was unplugged. You know, it was on a video. This guy, this geek in America, had a motherboard of a computer chip with the same kind of chip as this, all rigged up out of, you know what we don't normally see is out of the casing of the computer, right? And this was all on a table without the casing. And he said, you know, because we have to have on top of these, what do we put on top of these things when say if we do build computers or we customise them or fix them ourselves? What do? We put a fan on top, don't we? It's called a heat sink or whatever, you know, the fan that blows cold air on the thing constantly. I mean, why did they design these chips, guys, right, so that they get hot? Can anyone answer that one? Like, can anyone say, because surely there's a way around it where these things don't have to be hot. And do take note of the other little Masonic lodges round the edge as well. See the little tiny oblongs there, like going along there, and then along that end there, like the little mini Masonic lodges, guys. But you've got to be shrunk to be in there. And whoever's ruling the roost, whoever the devil is or whatever, he's got the keys to the centre, right? And what these things don't do is they won't work unless they're heated up. Now I don't understand that, right? And then we have to have a fan on top of the thing, right, to make sure it stays at a particular temperature. Now I didn't know these things until I went on this computer course, and what they did was, the demonstrator was, they put one of these on, rigged up to the motherboard, without the fan on it. And you know those gadgets you use, it's got a laser beam on, and you aim the laser at something and it tells you the temperature. It's like a modern gadget, like a modern thermometer, but it's done by laser. And this geek, he had this thing rigged up, like, you know, and there's a laser beam aimed straight at the top of the chip. And so we could, you know, it was like a classroom of people. We were all in a classroom environment watching this video, like. And he goes, I'm gonna switch the chip, I'm gonna switch the processor on now. You know, the whole motherboard kind of thing, like. So he switches it on. Next thing, we saw the temperature of the thing he had aimed at it just going right up into, like, I don't know what it was like 50 to 60, 70, 80 degrees, going up really fast. And then eventually the chip blew. It actually went, you know, like, it didn't explode, but it blew and caved in, stopped working. And he said, now that's why we have a heat sink, that's why we have a fan on top of the chip, to stop it blowing up. And I'm like, why does it get hot? Why did he make it so it gets hot in the first place? Why didn't the bright spark that invented these things, right, say you don't need to put a fan on them? Because we all know there are chips out there that don't need fans, don't we? Because now I'm going to prove that in a minute as I sort of wind down from this size, that this is the processor, remember. They're all about the same size as this in our modern computers. Quad core are all the same size as this thing. And like I say, you can't open them, you can't look at the silicon inside them, right? But that's my amazing question, right? Why do you think these things are designed to be like, they've got to be red hot in the middle or like a certain temperature to function? Why do you think it's got to be hot in the middle, guys? Well, because, like, what does the devil sit in? He's surrounded by fire, isn't he? He sits in, or what does a snake live in? You know, or a reptile? What did he prefer the environment to be like? Like really hot conditions, you understand? But if it was too hot, they'd burn up, wouldn't they, or fry up? So they have the fan regulating it. So you know, right, now to prove that, like, we don't need a fan on a chip, here's one I prepared earlier. Now this is a circuit board, right? From one of these things. This is a bicycle computer. I'll try and activate it so you can see it works, like, yo. Yeah, see? That's a bicycle computer, right? A bicycle computer, right? I took one of them, the exact same model as that actually. I used to use it, and I took it apart. And what I noticed was, you know when you take these things apart, right? The bit where the processor is, which is only, look at the size of it, man, look. And please note the gold contacts there as well. You know, like gold contacts on that. You know, like the same as the Intel chip. There has to be gold on the circuit board for it to function. But there's no heatsink, right? There's no heatsink required on these. So why not have a heatsink? Why not have, there's no heatsink on these little microchips, but they need one on those Intel, like, super processors kind of thing, right? And what you find is when you open anything like that, like a calculator or a watch or, like, you know, this is a bicycle computer, that's where the chip is there in the centre. I'll try and focus in on it as best as possible because I haven't got the macro on or anything, guys, you know what I mean? But as you can see on that, I've uncovered it. You can actually see the silicon square in the middle. Right, and if I aimed it at the light in the right direction, you'd see all the little rainbow colours and all those kinds of things, like a CD, you know what I mean, like a CD does. But as you can see, and you know what I had to do to uncover that chip? You can see it's on a, like, surrounded by this black plasticky stuff, like this resin. And if you look really close, you'll see the gold contacts that are broke. There's little tiny, where the wires were connected, like they're just only just like showing through the surface. But what I had to do, same layout, see the little tiny Masonic lodges? See the row of Masonic temples in there, like little rooms, little places, little... Because they must have like Tron, you know, like Tron the movie where they ride around on like silicon digital motorcycles and things. Like, these guys that run these things, I bet you they live in really futuristic... Like I say, the ancients had technology, guys, and they're trying to make that meeting place between the past and the future, like, so they go, poof, and that's what they're doing it through silicon, right? I had to file that down. That was a blob. That was like, it was like the machine in the factory must go like, you know, so the wires aren't broken or so the wires are safe. They're only little tiny wires that connect the actual chip to the circuit board, if you know what I mean, yeah? So they put this blob of resin on it that protects it. And it dries hard, and it doesn't matter how hard you hit that circuit board, you're not going to break the chip inside. So what I used to do is, I've done this to calculators, watches, everything, right? I used to just get a needle file, what we call a needle file, and file away slowly, work my way down until the silicon starts showing through, like, as you can see, the little square in the middle. Till the silicon starts showing through, like. I mean, I know this is a boring speech, guys, but there is a thesis and a point I'm trying to make about it. Like, you know, the chips are actually Masonic temples. We can't just go busting in there, can we? There's no door we can just jump in. The only way in is electronically. It's like, say, like in the case of this fucker. As soon as I'm sitting down with my head stuck to a screen and this thing's activated and those gold points are joined, I get invited into the Masonic Lodge, don't I? And say, like, depending on which way I was inclined, I could go, oh, I watched some rock videos today, right? And then you got like your perverts that'll go like, I want to watch some paedophile sites. I want to watch some fucking dirty, like, you know, snuff movies or something. Just think about how deep computers can take a person off the path of righteousness, if you know what I mean. Where it can literally mislead you into all kinds of things. The next thing you know, you got the fucking Vice Squad knocking on your door saying, you checked out a kiddie porn website there, didn't you? Think about it, man. Temptation, the devil comes in the form of temptation, you know what I mean? Now, in this little thing, right, this microchip, I mean, I'll put my finger next to it so you see how small it is, like, look, see the square? That's like, it's so tiny, man. But you realise, right, you know that chip, you know that processor with its batteries connected and the whole thing, when it used to look like that? That computer there, which is off a bicycle, guys, not a processor where you know, it works out your mileage and all that. That computer, believe it or not, the chip in it which looks like that, is more powerful than the fucking computer that the NASA used to send the rockets to the moon. Just in that. That is more powerful than all of the computers that NASA used. No, if NASA had that, if I could go back in time and I gave that to NASA and say, see if that helps your moon program, it would have helped them immediately. They'd been able to, like, it'd have been easier because the calculations are faster per second or per nanosecond, if you know what I mean, like. Well, anyway, so are you with me, right? We've gone like from nothing. Look at the side. Look at the difference. Look at the size of that to that. That little tiny square there, right? And in the middle, right? In the middle, remember, that's a bicycle computer, that's a processor. Right? Are you still with me, guys? We're going from obelisks to cobbled roads, and then he needs us to shrink us. We've got to get us, like, shrinky dinky, so tiny we can't even fight anymore, yeah. And then it brings us to this. Like, this is my phone, you know, my Sony phone, you know. I don't hardly switch it on, right? And inside it, you can hear the, you know, I'll show you the inside. It's there's the thing, right? What do we see there, guys? What do we see there? Let's see if we can get the light on it. See the gold contacts? Gold contacts. Just like the motherboard that these things are joined to. Right? The golden fucking ball. And of course, in the case of this thing, right, see the little contacts there, like. And this is what it joins you to. The SIM card. And that is a very, very basic chip. Right? Because what are they putting them in now? Let's go full circle. What did I say earlier on at the beginning of the video? What's the dole made us do? Have a bank account. So that they pay our money straight into that. And eventually they can just say, well, we're not paying you today because you didn't do enough job search on the Crown copyright website, like. But there's the chip there, like, that is an actual silicon chip, or it's like more like a very basic, because it's not for calculations or anything complicated, right? And that goes in there, as I'll put it in there now so you see it joined. Once that's in contact, once that SIM card is in contact with that the gold connection in this phone, and then of course we put that in, there's your electricity supply, the battery, blah blah blah, bingo. And then I switch my phone on, and then I look at the screen, and I'm like, bing, I'm zapped into the SIM world, into the chip that we call a SIM card. So what we're seeing all around us in all directions, right guys, is we can't escape being shrink, even if we're really strong-willed and anti-system, even if we're really, like, you know, objective about it. How many of us haven't got a digital watch or a digital clock or a computer or a television? And now we've got the iPhones, right guys. This is what it's bringing us right down to, the iPhone. And then there's the chip they're going to put in our hand, the very chip, right? You should know about that by now, the very chip, right? I want to try and wrap this up quickly because, like, I need to go to the toilet, to be honest. Well, anyway, now what I'm going to say is, like, I remember the first adverts in 1990, roughly 1990, 1991, for a telephone company. Before they were very, well, I didn't, you know, most of us didn't even know what a mobile phone looked like. It was only for the rich folks, right? In the same way, when these things first released, it was only rich folks, wasn't it, that started off with these things. I didn't see one of them until it was like 2005 or something. So they were, you know, but the mobile phone was the same. If you got an early mobile phone, you had to be quite wealthy or quite well-to-do or working or whatever, right? And I remember the first adverts where it was like, it was called Cellnet. It was a company called Cellnet. Now just think about that word, net, right? Net. Cellnet. And it was a company called Cellnet. They were the first company on British television putting out adverts saying, you know, our mobile phones are affordable and all that. And in the company logo, I don't know if it's out there on YouTube, if you can find it or whatever, anyone check his Cellnet adverts, right? See, this is what I'm saying, like, even if you didn't own the thing, we saw it on our television screens, didn't we? We'd be watching adverts on our television screens. So we were sucked into it, whether we liked it or not, if you know what I mean. It's like compulsory force feed. It's like, it's compulsory for me to use that fucking website to look for a job for the dole. I can't work my way. They'll stop me dole if I don't use it, right? So you see this advert come on your screen. cell net. And it was like a man, like a naked man, like a Greek fucking statue kind of dude, or a Roman statue dude. It was like no clothes on, you know, and I don't know why, like, you know, why he's a naked man sort of thing. And he was casting like you see a fisherman throw a net out by hand over a river. And he throw it out and he cast a net and it go. He wasn't throwing a net out fishing. He was throwing a net out over the planet Earth. You know what I'm saying, guys? Like the Freemasonic symbol of like, it's like, it looks like an earth with a blanket over it. But this guy was throwing a net out, like, and he was like a Roman, like, you know, like a Roman gladiator type looking dude with muscles and everything, like, you know what I mean? Like, so super fit, fucking handsome dude, like going, casting this net, and the net went over the whole planet Earth. And it was like a sort of net over the whole planet saying, cell net. And well, I didn't know then, back in 91 or 90 or whatever, that everyone was going to be walking around with the, you know, the advanced version of these things all going like that. You know, if you think of it like they actually managed to shrink us down. Not me personally, I hardly use my phone, I hardly use it, like, you know, but I don't even switch the thing on. This is what I advise, you disconnect that fucking thing, for starters. Your golden bull chip, like, there's pure gold on that there, it's only like the points on the other chip, that's only painted on, you know what I mean? But I never thought when I saw that advert for Cellnet of this fucking Masonic dude throwing a net over the whole planet, that I would live to see everyone walking around the streets today. Young women, young men, old women, old ladies, middle-aged people, children, pairs of headphones on, going like that, looking at the screens of their stupid fucking iPhones. So what has Babylon achieved, if you think about it, from the cobblestones to the road, to the air in the tyres, to the chips, to the shrinking it down from that? That's just only in the last 20 or 30 years, guys, that they've sort of managed to go from there to there. But no heat sink, remember, guys, no heat sink. That you don't need a heat sink. There's no propeller on, no fan on this thing keeping it cool. Why is that? That's what I want to know. That's my technical question. If anyone knows why the chip in that doesn't need to be cooled down, but the chip in that has to be heated up and then cooled down. It has to be heated up and then a fan keeps it cool. Anyone know that, like? Because I don't. Because I was a bit baffled by that, you know what I mean? Because I seen one for myself without the heat sink blowing up, like, you know, burning out and going, just burnt out, just caved in, doesn't work anymore. All the silicon's ruined, the Masonic temple is no longer functioning, like, inside it, like, if you know what I mean. Intel and that, like, the devil's seat or whatever, like. So if it's got to be hot, it's got to be like a snake or a lizard or some kind of advanced life form, hasn't it? You know what I mean, like. Okay, and I'm going to wind it up. Yeah, the Intel adverts, right? When this company, another compulsory force feed, when they first launched them, even though you didn't have a computer out there, right? Say you were like me, like a sort of working class person, and you didn't own one of these, but you were seeing it on your television screen. What do they do with this? What's the Intel advert famous for? What does it do that's a familiar thing? And they still do it today. They're selling notebooks, them little miniature laptops and that. And there's still adverts on YouTube. It pops up on YouTube on the adverts when you don't even want to watch it. It just comes up, doesn't it? And you don't even get a chance to turn it off because it's like skip ad. By the time it says skip ad, you've heard the fucking, you know, the Intel little riff. Do 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 do. It does a little music, like McDonald's goes. Intel goes. Do 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 do. Like how many notes is that? Do 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 do. 4 notes. And they still use it today, the same as what they used back in the 90s, or the you know, late 80s, 90s, when these things were starting to boom and all the rich kids had one and people like myself didn't. We'd be watching them adverts on our television sets, right? And we'd have to hear them musical notes. So what are Intel playing at? What's the Masonic huge temple playing at with the, you know, the fucking hot seat in the middle? It's making sure even if we haven't got a computer, right, even if we don't own a PC, we hear them musical notes in our living room, we've been summoned in. Like I say, the Masons go, they chant, they go, oh, they make noises and sing songs and chant and use certain musical notes. So every living room in Britain, in my country for example, I don't know what it's like abroad in Europe or America, but over here we had do 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 every time a fucking Intel advert comes on, and they're still using it today. Right, now think about that, guys. What I'm saying to you is, like, where they're shrinking us into their network, even if we don't want it, even if we're like the most die-hard, like fucking, you know, lighting campfires and staying out of electricity and staying away from the media, staying out of Wi-Fi and everything. The free Wi-Fi, oh whoa, have some free Wi-Fi, buy a pair of spectacles, get a pair free. Silicon fucking glasses, mate. The eyeglass, Google eyeglass. Oh, get a pair of silicon spectacles. Oh, look at your mates and you can tell where they live. Look at a total stranger in the street with your Google glass on, and you tell what their address is and all that. Like, nah. Think about it, man. So, have I made my points? Have I left anything out here? Like, I think this speech is quite a good one for now. Like, because it could be the last speech that I do, guys, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm taking a break from YouTube and getting depressed by it, like, I was just trying to be like thought-provoking and then we've got like disappearing aeroplanes, right? Flight simulators, remember? We've got like aeroplanes crashing into skyscrapers, starting off a war. We've got question marks about like, oh, it looks like a hologram, it looks real. Flight simulators. And, you know, you're either in there, shrinky-dink down in there, or you could be on the outside looking in, because you hardly use a computer, or you don't use an iPhone or anything like that, right? And the other thing is, what is at the centre of every swastika? You know the Nazis, because there's the big part in all of this, is that they're fucking Nazis. Look, it's black. See that? It's black, right? Isn't it black? They usually, you know, when they started making these things, it's a big black square, isn't it, with just the corner slightly cut off, like. There's the gateway into the hotel there, where the, you know, the roof over the plaza, like, where the red carpet is. Right, but if you look at any Iron Cross, what the Nazis were given for bravery in the Second World War or whatever, you know, there's a raised swastika on every Iron Cross. Right? An Iron Cross. And it's raised up like a swastika. Yeah? Now if you take away the sort of extensions, what's at the very centre of every swastika? The very centre is a cube, isn't it? You know, if you could sort of take off the bits that go like that. You know, cut them off. Cut all them off. And you've got a cube, haven't you, in the middle? A raised cube on every Iron Cross. And, you know, iron statues in museums of beasts and monsters like the fucking, what's it called, Pazuzu and all. I'm flying off on a different tangent here, aren't I? Like, but I'm trying to cram it in, like, because how long have I been speaking? Like, I'm not even sure, like. Over an hour, and that's going to take me ages to upload this, like. But I am trying to re-educate people as to stop and think why you should ditch your iPhones, guys, more than anything, like, and try and spend less time on your computers and that, like. Because our eyes are the windows to our soul, and if they take our eyes, they're closing in on the soul slowly but surely. Not mine personally, because I've got like little ways. I pray and all that kind of stuff. I believe in God and all that, like. But if this is your God, silicon, or technology, or the latest iPhones and all that shit, like, you're buggered. You're just basically buggered. You know, because these guys have been working this out for fucking donkey's years, since they've been putting the roads down from Rome, since they've been putting the fucking pyramids up and the obelisks from Egypt, and putting one in Cleopatra's Needle in London, for fuck's sake, in Britain. You know. Anyway, I'll get off now. I think I've done enough. I don't know what the fuck. I just thought I'd say something useful and try and educate people, you know what I mean? There's a silicon chip in this camera, by the way. There's got to be, hasn't there? There's silicon chips in anything. So that's the speech anyway. It's like, what was it? How humanity shrinks into silicon. Do you get it? Silicon. You know what con is? A con is when you get ripped off or you get fooled or duped or, you know, shortchanged. Or silicon. Silicon. Silicon chips. Silicon chips. Silicon fucking processors. Phone towers and chips and phones and radiation and all the rest of it, like, yeah. It's time people got off their asses, isn't it, guys, and started thinking about this. But I really strongly advise any of you guys who watch my videos, if you've got any sense, sell your iPhone, get the money for it while you can. You know, there's a shop in Birkenhead in this town, right? Car phone warehouse, or phones for us or phones for you. And you know, you get like a £500. You know, it's like a piece. My PC cost me about £350. It's quite a budget PC, like, you know what I mean. Well, you can go into Car Phone Warehouse in Birkenhead. I don't know what it's like abroad in America or in Europe, right? I could just walk in there, even if I've got a poor credit history, right, guys. Even if I'm in debt up to my eyeballs, catalogue debts and all that, I can walk into Car Phone Warehouse, right, and say, can I have that £500 iPhone there? And, you know, as long as you give them your bank account details and you say, well, it's £30 a month. You know, the tariff or whatever is £30 a month or £25 a month. As long as I can give them bank details and prove to them that I'm either getting, even if I'm on social security, guys, not even working or nothing, like, and a poor credit history, I've got debts all over the place, they go, yeah, take this £500 phone. And you've got to ask yourself the question, like, I can't go and get like a £500 motorcycle in the same way, or like I can't go and get a Gibson Les Paul or a Fender Stratocaster. I can't walk into a music shop and say, can I have that £500 acoustic guitar there, mate? They just laugh at me, wouldn't they? They go, get the fuck out. Poor credit history, get out. But I can go into Car Phone Warehouse, right? Because I haven't been in there myself and got one. My mate has or whatever, like, he's told me this is all possible. And I can go in there with a poor credit history and say, here's my bank details. I want that £500 iPhone there. And they'll go, here you go, sir. Oh, please take it. Where's your guarantee? There's your... Ask yourself, why? Why are they throwing these things at people? They just can't wait to get you in the cell net. You know, the whole planet that's completely covered in a net. And you're all trapped, shrinking. And then you've got your tom-toms and your sat-navs on your phones, in your cars, taking you into Google Earth, which is another compulsory force feed, as we've all seen on YouTube. Google Earth. For fuck's sake, guys, get out of there, you know what I mean? If you still got the sense, like, you know, wake up your fucking family and your relatives and tell them what I'm... Tell them Roller Coaster Ride sent you. Anyway, I fucking sound like a right lunatic. I've got neighbours above them and either side of me, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting here like a fucking lunatic doing this to try and tell people, like, warn people, like, what's coming, like, you know, the chip and that, like. So anyway, hope it explains things, the link between silicon chips and SIM card, and then you got your, yeah, hold on, before we get switch off here. Two credit cards. There you go. SIM card. Call it chip and pin, don't we? Oh. So do you see the full circle, guys? You've got to have a bank account before social security will pay you. And if obviously if you've got a job, you've got to have a current account, haven't you? And they'll say, oh, we pay your wages straight into the bank. Now you got that. And then you've got your SIM card looking exactly the same. Because that's the most simplified version of a silicon chip, isn't it? Chip and pin it's called. There's actually a chip inside them, isn't it? Anyway, do you not see what I'm getting at, guys? And then we've got these fucking things that won't fucking work unless they're heated up to like check it out on YouTube, or check out any video how hot these things have to be before they function. And then how cooled down they have to be. Like a fan like it's like me going turn the thing on, like, you know what I mean? Turn it on and then go. It keeps it cool, you know. But it is hot inside, obviously. It just keeps the surface cool and all that, like, it's to like stop things overloading. Check it out, guys. Check chips without a heatsink or any kind of footage, any, you know, there's lessons on YouTube for like building computers and all that, like, and see what these things are like when they haven't got the fan on them, like they blow up, they literally overheat and blow up and stop functioning. Why put that much heat in there? No, because it's the fucking snakes and the lizards and all them lot, like, they stay out of sight, don't they, remember? No one sees any snake men or lizard men walking around in the street. Look at my eyes, guys, I've got proper round pupils, just in case you want. Anyway, I think I've said enough. I've got to get on to uploading this now to YouTube. It'll take me ages. It's it's the 26th of September 2014, just for the record. It's 5 to 4 in the afternoon. So when this video actually appears on YouTube, you'll see the time it takes me to render it and then put it on YouTube. It takes me ages, like, that's why I don't do many videos. It's too time consuming. But anyway, thanks for watching, if you're watching, and please give me some replies and some kind of feedback, because I'm not getting anything lately, you know what I mean? I think, like, my channel's been bugged, or, you know, the watchdogs are onto me, like, and, fucking anyway. Thanks for watching, anyway. Give me some feedback, some comments, so I know you're out there, guys, or someone's out there. Anyone out there? Hey, get your eyes off your fucking iPhones and fucking wake up, will you? For fuck's sake.